For a long time, I don't think that religion was a hot topic in human rights law at all. Religion was seen by lawyers as a constitutional question. But nowadays, these historical compromises are being put to the test by new religions, new in Europe.
Good evening and welcome to Europe House, the home of the European Parliament in London. The topic of our event this evening is a rather different aspect of human rights, namely religious freedoms.
In Eastern Europe, they're rediscovering freedom of religion, whereas in Western Europe, the conversation is more often about freedom from religion. Should we allow religion into the public space?
In this country, for hundreds of years, individuals had a negative right in common law for their religious rights. What that means is you could basically do whatever you wanted so long as it didn't interfere with the common law itself or an enactment of Parliament. That all changed in October 2000, the coming into force of the Human Rights Act, which brought with it Article 9 of the European Convention on Human Rights.
It hasn't resolved all conflicts, has it? There are still conflicts that are sparked.
I think there was an expectation that overnight everything was going to change in this country. That didn't happen.
I think that the human rights framework that we enjoy under the European Convention on Human Rights does provide us with the tools necessary to strike the right balance between common values and individual religious beliefs.
As citizens of the European Union, let alone of the Council of Europe member states, the way in which religion does impinge needs to be thought about very deeply. So this is a timely debate.
The protection for religious rights doesn't sit on some island by itself. The way it's protected is it's protected side by side with the right to thought, belief, conscience. So there is a right to freedom of religion sitting beside a right to freedom from religion.
We're talking about the European Court of Human Rights, which is a body of the the Council of Europe, the post-war entity created to develop a new form of European collaboration.
What do I think of the SS case in which the European Court of Human Rights last July decided that the French burqa ban did not violate any convention rights? I think the solution is disappointing. What is troubling, I would say, in France now is that recent developments show a push for an extension of restrictions to religious freedom beyond laicite. I don't think the French burqa ban is about protecting laicite at all.
We've just been talking about the burqa ban and the suggestion from Myriam that these were common values taken too far. Let's look at another case that happened here. It's called the Liddell case. The registrar in Islington believes that homosexuality is a sin. She was denied her request to be excused on religious grounds from conducting same-sex civil partnerships. Did the European Court strike the right balance then, in this particular case?
In one word about Liddell, I think that the European Court did strike the right balance. Had the British state allowed a few of its agents to be exempt from conducting same-sex civil partnerships, then the message of equality conveyed by that British state would have been tainted.
We're not going back to the 1930s, but it's a new sort of extremism. And I don't think religion terribly helps, I'm afraid to say.
At times, the European Court of Human Rights itself has shown, I would argue, too much deference towards national positions. Too much caution of this sort could turn human rights into empty shells.
I just think the safety net is follow the French on this. If you would like to call it laïcité, fine, but it's a distinction between church and state.
In the United Kingdom, we've got a system whereby there's a European Court of Human Rights that is coming up with its own cases and jurisprudence. The judges in this country have to have regard to that jurisprudence, but they don't have to follow it. To use a case from France, which has a very different historical constitutional background on religious rights, and to apply it to the United Kingdom would be manifestly inappropriate.
The French experience of the Dreyfus case, for example, led to a completely revolutionary position where the French state is non-religious.
If you wear a full face veil and go out onto the street in France to go and buy a pint of milk and a policeman sees you, it is a criminal offence. Now, that is very far away in reality to a separation of church and state.
Catriona, can I come to you and ask you how that ban was viewed by the Muslim groups that are part of your faith network?
They thought of it as an anti-Muslim measure, actually, and I probably agree with them.
The legal basis for the solution, this notion of living together, is dangerous for human rights protection. It backs the social norm of uncovering the face in public. But why should law endorse such social norm?
In Bradford, we have a huge Pakistani and other Muslim population who, quite rightly, they expect to be taken seriously, their traditions to be respected. But some of them, I married my first cousin. You know, a lot of people in Bradford marry their first cousins. It's not a very good thing to do. I don't think arranged marriages are that clever.
In both countries, the law has at times gone too far towards protecting common values or towards protecting individual rights to religious freedom.
If you believe in a religion or another thought system, often the corollary of that is that your manifestation of those beliefs will affect your day-to-day existence. Some banal examples. Perhaps it might affect how you choose to dress. It may affect what you choose to eat, what you choose to drink.
I think one suggestion maybe is that to make sure that we don't read into human rights a right not to be exposed to other beliefs or to people who hold other beliefs. That's why I was particularly against the French burqa ban.
There are some people who feel that if the Pope goes to the European Parliament, you need to have a humanist speaker, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, or, you know, so it goes on. I mean, I used to belong to the Liberal group in the European Parliament where the most vigorous lobby was mounted against the invitation to Pope Francis.
If you drain the public space of all kind of value-based stuff and sort of passionate, including religious and atheist and humanist, if you drain it of that, it becomes very kind of technocratic. And you use the word, I think, reason and reasonable, but it can become a bit dry and dusty. So I would say that we need the Pope. I would be, have more Pope-type people in addressing the European Parliament rather than fewer.
Can I be myself in living in London? Can I be fully Muslim? Can I be fully Jewish? Can I be fully Christian? Can I be fully atheist living in London? And that's what we would hope that is the case. And on the whole it is, but there are some rough edges.
Well, that brings us to the end of this evening's event. Thank you very much for your questions. I hope you found it to be thought-provoking. Thank you.